Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey Mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Yo and hello everybody, Mike Moynihan here, Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, back with you for another episode. And you know, I'm one of those guys that I like trying zigging and zagging and doing different things and trying to add different things to this show. One thing that from the very beginning of the show, one of the first conceptions in my brain was going through set by set all the cards and different sets from the vintage era. Now, I consider the vintage era to be from 48 to 1980. Different people have different definitions of what they call vintage, because I call pre-war. That's an era of cardboard, and then you have kind of the vintage era. And I like to think of it in eras. And you have the junk wax era, and then you have the modern era. You know, you can come up with whatever vernacular you want to describe each era, but there are distinct eras of cardboard. And the set I'm going to discuss today was groundbreaking in a whole lot of ways. And it's a set that I've loved for a really long time. It's the 48/49 Leaf set. My dad always told me, you know, you can't know everything, but you better darn well know people who do. And surround yourself with smarter people than you. And I am so blessed in this hobby to be surrounded by so many great friends that have infinite knowledge, different knowledge base than I do. I love learning from them. I love talking to them about sports cards. And the truth is, they're all pretty great people too. And that is definitely true of my guests today. I'm going to bring them on right now. My good friend and yours, Dave, Blue Jacket 66. Hey, Dave, welcome to the show.
I am so happy to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Well, you are one of my favorite people, and I'll tell you now that you're here, and I can tell you to your face-ish, sort of. But you're one of the people that I have the most respect for in this hobby. There's a few people out there that fit that category for me. And yeah, you just are, you can be snarky, and I love that. You can be, but you're also very humble, and you're very knowledgeable, and you're willing to share that. And you love this hobby in a way that I don't see in many people, and I respect that tremendously. So thank you.
Well, thanks. I think that you say that because you see in me exactly what you just said. I'm entrenched in this hobby and have been. It's personal to me, and I have deep respect for it. I am not in it for the short term. I'm already probably in it way longer than I should have been. And it just means everything to me. And the important thing to me is I pass that along so that it just one person could embrace this hobby the way I have and what it means to me. It'd be all worthwhile for sure.
Well, I think you've influenced a lot of people. No question. Well, I'm one. So there you go. You've done it to one, and that's me. And I know many others that you've had that same influence on. I know, Dave, this is one of your favorite sets of all time. You have a lot of respect for this set. Tell me what 48 Leaf, 49 Bowman, or 48/49 Leaf means to you.
Well, this is how I would sum this up. And Mike, that is the last time out of your mouth I want the year 1948 and Leaf to come out of your mouth, because after this podcast, you nor anyone else will ever say that again, as we will show definitively this is a 1949 set. But that being said, let's just say imagine coming out of the World War II era with a bunch of no major really releases since the 41 play balls, and certainly nothing color. We just had the 48 Bowman. Sure, let's be honest, it's a little bit drab, but still it's a great baseball set. But coming out, here we have a color set. But not only that, it is filled with everything that the best crime novel is filled with. It's filled with mystique, intrigue, mystery, lust, legendary figures. And it comes with a mystery that would not be solved for 20 years after its release. And some mysteries, such as, is it 48, 49, is it 48, that won't be really put to bed except in the last 10 years or so. It's a fantastic set. It's a thing to behold.
It's cool to me when sets, beyond just the cards themselves, but there's a story behind it. I mean, if you know the story behind 52 Tops and Cyberger and all of that, it adds so much to the set. And that's true of this set as well, right?
I think so. And I thought to myself, what do I want people to come away with? And there's three things I want them to come away with. One is to realize this isn't just another baseball card set. It is an enigma. It's fascinating, like many vintage and pre-war sets. It's not something that's just released. The story that we're going to tell, and the series 1, the series 2, the skip numbering, it's just absolutely fascinating. And I think it deserves so much more than just being known as a set. I want people to know that. I want people to never call it anything else except a 49 Leaf set. And I want people also to recognize that I'm going to try to give homage and just rewards to these researchers in the 40s and 50s that really discovered this set and what it was all about and put all these mysterious pieces together. And when it took them 20 years to do it.
Well, let's get right into that, because I know enough about this set to be dangerous, and I'd much rather have you tell me and help me learn some things, help you guys out there listening, watching, learn some things about the history of this set. So just the floor is yours, sir, man. Just go and I'll just listen.
Okay. First of all, you watch my videos and you watch how I've said I will call people out. Well, I don't want to overstep my bounds and people to call me out, but I welcome them to if I do misstep or misspeak, because that's what this is all about in learning. I'm not an expert really on anything. I know a lot about, I think, 1950s food and beverage cards, but I'm not an expert on this set, but I've been around long enough and read long enough that I know about it. So this set, we'll just say it came out. And first we got to ask ourselves, well, when did this come out? PSA says it came out in 1948. It says it right there on their label. SGC says 1948/49. It says it right there on their label. But the fact of the matter is, I'm going to state the fact, and we're going to go ahead and show the proof, is this set came out in 1949 with the first release probably in March of 1949. And I think a lot of the misunderstanding comes from many cards have a copyright that says 1948 on the back, while others say 1949 on the back. But very, very simply, if you read the backs of a majority of these cards, they talk about feats and stats of the 1948 season. There is no mention of the 1949 season on any of these cards. For instance, the Bob Feller, and I do have to actually have a picture of the back. It talks about one of baseball's most famous Major League all-time blah, 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 won 19 games last season. Well, folks, he won 19 games in 1948, and the back of this card says last season. Every single card, Satchel Paige's card, because Satchel Paige didn't come up until, July of 1948, I think. And here he has a card. So all of these cards talk about what they did in the 1948 season. Heck, there's even cards of players that were traded in December of 1948. And these cards, they're in their 1949 team uniform, yet they weren't even traded until December of 48. So you might say, well, maybe some of the cards were released in 48 and 49. Well, that's impossible, because we'll talk about first about the first sheet of these which is cards 1 through 75, they have both cards that about 60% of the cards have 1948 copyrights on them, and the remainder 30% have 1949 copyrights on them. And on the second series, it's about half and half, 1948, 1949. How is it? It's illegal, folks, to release a set of cards that has a copyright a year in the future. When's the last time you read a book that said copyright 2031 on it? It's illegal, right, and it's impossible. Why they did that, why we have 2 copyrights, I don't know. But the backs tell the story. They're all 1949 cards.
Could it be that they designed the cards, some of them in late 48, and did the backs and designed them and put them on, and then we're not going to change that. It's too much of a pain. And I don't know. I mean, that's my only.
Yeah, there's got to be an explanation for why some of them are copyrighted 48 and 49. But the important thing is they're all on the sheet. And here I have a picture of an uncut first series 1949 Leaf set. You won't see this very often.
I bet not. And I bet it would go for a lot of money.
Right. So these were, plus we have to remember that there's probably the biggest spokesman for the early Bowman sets and the most knowledgeable person is, his name is Ted Zeniticus. I think he's New Jersey. He's probably Pennsylvania, but he remembers collecting these cards. He bought them when he was a kid. He bought them in the spring of 1949. So that's when it all started. Now, from then we can go on to some really interesting things. Do you have any questions about that, Mike? I just wanted to put it to bed.
No, I want to look at. I'm looking at the cards.
Look in Major League Baseball stats. Look at the back of these cards. There is zero proof. There's zero indication that there was ever any release of these in 1948. All the bios talk about the 48 season, and they were clearly released in 1949.
So I have 3 cards in the set. I have the Ruth and a PSA 1, and it says copyright 1949. I have the Ted Williams, and it says copyright 1948.
Yeah.
And I have the Wagner, and it's 1949. So,
okay. Well, the Wagner and the Jackie were in the first series, and the Ted Williams is card number 76, which is the first card of the second series. I don't want to belittle it. I'm just saying to everybody else, research, pick a card, read the back of the card, and they will all talk about the 1948 season. Even I think Spawn's card talks about him pitching in that World Series, and that World Series ended in mid-October. You think they released a set of cards in November of 48? They didn't release baseball cards then. They were smart even back then, where they were releasing cards in the spring and summer.
Let me read the back.
Why do we have 2 copyrights? I don't know.
Let me read the back of the Williams card because it's telling. Like you said, card number 76. It says Ted the Kid Williams. It's a 1948 copyright. One of the greatest hitters of all time. Won, and this is in 48. He was already being called one of the greatest hitters of all time. Won 4th American League batting title in 1948 with a 369 mark. Captured other SWAT crowns in 1941, 42, and 47. Hit 25 home runs last year. In 1946, won home run championship with 38 round. They called them round toppers. That's funny, instead of round trippers. Has all-time batting average of 351. He had a career batting average at that point of 351. That's insane. So there you go.
Well, every back's like that. It's not like a few backs are like that. Every back tells the story of the 1948 season. And again, there's a lot of players that are in uniforms of the 1949 team where they were traded in December of 48. Just completely impossible. But if nothing else, we know the people that were there. We know the people that opened the packs.
So why then, Dave, the resistance of PSA, for example, to label them 1949 Leafs? Why won't they just?
I got a question for PSA. I got a big question for PSA. The Leaf premiums. Here's the Leaf premiums. When PSA labels these, they accurately label them 1949 Leaf premiums. Guess what, Mike? These were box toppers in the boxes of Leaf bubblegum cards. So why is this a 48? Yet you're labeling the cards that this came with. I mean, this is a 49, but why are you labeling the packs or the cards that this came with as 48s? They're confused. And part of this confusion comes because the early researchers on this set were equally confused. They called it 19. They thought maybe it was released in 1948. I mean, so it became ingrained that way. The Bob Lemke, the big book, vintage, or the standard catalog, right?
Yeah.
It forever said 48, 49 Leaf, but they've since changed it to 1949 Leaf. Is if you look in at least I think issues over the last 10 years or so. So I think that there's a lot of reason. It started off. It's such a the set is there's not checklist. It's such a mystery. Early researchers called it 48 or maybe 49. They weren't sure. And so it just stuck. But with so much proof out there, why they don't change, that is beyond me. And the irony, again, is calling a 1949 Leaf Premium a 49 Leaf when it came in the pack of cards that you're calling 48 Leaf. Makes no sense.
I agree. Okay, keep going. I'm learning a lot. I love it.
So here you are, a kid, or not even a kid. I mean, these were 30-year-old people, 40-year-old people, 50-year-old, all ages collected cards then, Mike. And they were realizing, I got card number 1, I got to card number 8, I can't put together, what is the set? What is a set of 49 Leaf cards? And it took years for them to discover, because these cards were what they call skip numbered. Leaf had this bright idea. They put the set out as a 168 card set, but they never made 168 cards. All in all, they made 98 cards. And so this first sheet, it has card 1 is DiMaggio, card 3 is Ruth, 4 is Musial, 5 is Virgil Trucks, 8 is Page. Then we skip to 10 is Paul Trout, 11's Ruth. So they're skipping numbers, and they're doing this. We're not sure why they're doing it. Cynical people would say that they're doing it because kids will buy more packs. Because where's my card number 2? I'm buying packs. I think that Leaf had success with that same trick in their 1948 boxing series, as they did the same thing, and they sold those packs out the wazoo because people wanted, when you're a collector back then, Mike, they didn't want to collect. I just want a Ruth and a Mantle the way we are, or some of us are. They wanted the set, and it wasn't happening. And so people were writing to each other, and that's where our early researchers come about. And I'm going to mention a couple of them. Everybody's probably heard of Lionel Carter. We could consider him one of the grandfathers of modern or card collecting. And he was a 31-year-old that time and wrote in a periodical called The Sports Fan. There's a Buck Barker who wrote for the Sports Exchange, Trading Post, and there's a Walter Carson. So those are just 3 guys. And what they would do is they would put out their periodicals and say they would make with each issue, 48, 49, whatever they called it at the time, Leaf cards. Hey, Jimmy Stalin in Oakford, New Hampshire, found a number 33 card. It's blah, blah, blah. And that's how they would checklist this. And it took them, Mike, doing this because it was skipped series. It took them until 1956 to discover, hey, the first sheet is just 49 cards, numbered 1 through 75, and there is no number 2. There is no number 9, etc. And so that's what they would do. And there was no internet. It was very hard to do. Nobody knew what was going on. But by typing out, some guy sitting in his attic, on Sunday night while the wife's busy, typing out these periodicals and asking questions, send me cards that you have obtained. And that's how they put together at least series 1 is that way. And it took them, Mike, 7 years to do that, till they figured out this is the set. Cards 1 through 75, but there's only 49 of them because the sheets were 7 by 7. They figured it out. And then the bottom dropped out of things. Big bottom dropped out.
Okay.
Because Walter Corson discovered, hey, there's 8 more quote unquote rare cards. And so then they started all over again. And we had another set of researchers. You've heard of Larry Frisch, Rich Egan, Jim Newell. These people, through the 50s and 60s, started discovering that there was a second sheet, and that's what this is. And these are very short printed and rare. And it took them, Mike, until 1969 to discover there were not 168 cards. There was 98 cards in 2 series, and just amazing amount of footwork that those guys did to figure that out. That essentially the second sheet was probably seriously short printed. I've heard that it was really, well, the series 1 was released nationwide. Series 2, that sheet was probably just released in Michigan and I think Wisconsin and Illinois, because Bowman came knocking on the door saying, we have rights to all these players that you're making ball cards of. And I guess threatened with legal action. So they stopped printing and stopped producing the Series 2. That's why those are quite rare.
All right. So I have a question for you. You showed the sheet 1 a second ago. Satchel Paige is card number 9, I think. What card number?
Card number 8.
8.
There is a very short printed card.
But if it's all on the same sheet, I guess I'm trying to understand the printing. If they made the same number of sheets, how would Paige be short printed?
Why is he a short print, but Ruth and DiMaggio
exactly
are not, and Jackie? I think what happened, and Bowman did this on other sheets as well, is probably some players they would. I mean, Satchel Paige was not. I don't think that he was. He was a rookie, obviously, but I think what he did is he probably did not appear on every sheet. He may have appeared on every other sheet or every third or fourth sheet, and some players got double printed. We don't know this for sure because there's very, very few Leaf uncut sheets. So I'm speculating there, but you're right. He is way super short printed, or at least available, than a lot of these quote unquote short prints in the second series. And it just thought that maybe some of these players that were short printed on the first sheet were not on every sheet.
Yeah, but we don't have cards that are designated as double or triple printed, right? And which is certainly possible. In fact, that would be the only way it would make any sense, because if you have a sheet of 7x7 to make a sheet of 49 cards, then it would only make sense that they'd have to replace that spot on the sheet with somebody, a duplicate card that had already been printed. And it's funny.
It's not like there's a boatload of Dick Wakefield cards because he was triple printed. I don't know what to tell you. We know Mantle in his 52 Mantle. We know ones were misplaced or whatever, and he was double printed. But even him being double printed, we don't find him to be that more accessible than any other late series 52 Mantle. So I don't know. That's kind of speculation, to be honest with you.
But I think it's a reasonable conclusion. We don't know, obviously, but it only makes sense they wouldn't leave that space on the sheet blank, right?
Oh no, you're right. If that's the case, if that's the wide page, and boy, if you look at his pop numbers, they are low. They're low. That's just one explanation. Is he was probably not printed on every sheet. He was probably printed on every other or every third, and therefore, some players had to be double printed. Who they are, we don't know, because the numbers on these cards are so low as it is. My thought on this set is, I have a good 1949 Bowman complete set, and that's cool. If you have a 52 Topps set, that's impressive. If you have a complete 1949 Leaf set, you're a stud. I mean, big stud. I'm not even sure up until the early 80s that there were, but maybe a handful of people that had completed that set. So scarce. And there's some fantastic cards on it. I'll ask you, what is your favorite card in that set?
My favorite card. Oh, that's my favorite card is probably.
Here, let me go some important. So some important. We'll just call them superstars. They're all great players. But here's the fascinating thing about this: when it comes to copywriting, there's 98 cards in the complete series. 60 of them are rookie cards.
Right.
60. And I thought, why the hell are there 60 rookie cards? And I wondered if it was because maybe these quote unquote rookies, Bowman, Leaf knew, hey, they don't have these guys under contract, so we're going to go for them. And yeah, we're going to sneak in. We're going to sneak in Jackie and Ted Williams and Spawn and some of these others, and screw Bowman. Well, Bowman didn't have any of that, but I wonder if they have so many rookies because they're able to sign these that Bowman hadn't got to these guys yet. But here's the important first series one. We'll talk about these, then you tell me your favorites. There's Joe DiMaggio, Ruth, Musial, Page, Spawn, and Wagner. And the Wagner's interesting too. Why the hell is Wagner and Ruth in this set? Big question.
I think that's actually a
the second series.
Go ahead.
The second series is Williams. I'm sorry, Jackie's in this one, and then Kiner and Feller. So who's your fave?
I love the Williams card.
Let me ask you this real quick. Why do you like the looks of this set?
Yes.
Why?
But it grew on me. Like at first I didn't like it, and it's grown on me over the years just because I love the colors, especially when you hold them in your hand. It's one thing to see a picture of it. It's another thing to hold them, and the vibrant colors, the color combinations, the names in the set are attractive. I mean, you've got, like you said, a bunch of superstars in this set, a bunch of great rookie cards in this set. So I wasn't always a fan, but I certainly am now.
Me neither. And sometimes it's a hard one to love, to be honest with you. So it's got this 4-color print run, and it's got these beautiful colors, and that's one of its nuances. It's got so many shades of colors that those aren't airs. It's just bad printing by Leaf. I mean, their quality control was terrible. They're off-centered. The registration on them sucks. A lot of the cards have wrong backs on them or upside down backs, and they can be a hot mess. But boy, you get one that's got nice registration, and it blows your mind. And I completely interrupted you. Just tell me who your favorite is.
Well, I'm having a hard time. I'd have to say Jackie is my favorite just because of what that card means to the hobby.
Yeah.
But I love the Williams. I love the Musial, and I don't even own one. It's funny, the Musial, though, you're talking about color. I mean, that can be anywhere from like a baby blue all the way to a dark purple. I
would love to find a centered baby blue, and those things would go for a premium, because the baby blue, you're right, it just absolute gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think you say the Jackie, but it's got 3 very important African American rookies. It's got the Dobie, Jackie, and Satchel. I mean, that's just monstrous. Yes. They talk about 51 being an iconic set. Are you serious? Big time. I think mine is probably the Williams. It's just, God, that, many of the cards are portraits. Some of them are catching, but it seems like many of them are portraits and many of them are the swing. And that card just, wow. It's my favorite Williams card, and there's not even a close second.
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Yeah, I think I picked mine up at the I think I may have more than one, but I picked up my last one that I really liked I think the 2000, was it, where was the last Cleveland? Was that 2019 or 18? 2018. Yeah. So you like the Jackie, and what's not to like, right?
Right. You got your Jackie there you can show?
I do.
Because I don't have a Jackie.
I got to brag on it, because so when I got this, it was in a PSA 3, and I was like, you are ridiculous. You are absolutely ridiculous. This is not a 3. So I sent it back for review, and it came at 3.5. What are they going to do? Give me a 5? No. Legitimately, this is 4, I would say. But what I like about it is it's got the bright yellow, and it doesn't have any of those printing flaws. Some of them can get kind of dirty, a lot of black print marks and dirty. This is just a clean, crisp card. And yeah, I tell you what, Mike, I lucked out. It is unfortunate that some of these, and I'll say it, iconic cards are becoming out of reach for everyone. But like I said before, you can find very low grade copies. Just be patient. You can find a low grade copy that is somewhere in your wheelhouse, and that's what you got to go for.
Well, yeah, my Williams is a 1, my Ruth is a 1, and my Wagner, which I bought way before any boom or anything, is a 4. And it's very well sent. It's a beautiful PSA 4. But
isn't the Wagner interesting?
It's fascinating because it's picturing him as an old coach, right?
Coaching the Pirates.
And he is on the Pirates. That's true. But it's just it's weird that he and Ruth, why not Cobb? Why not Mathewson? Why, I don't know. But why those two guys?
I think Ruth had died relatively recently before the release of this. What year did Ruth die?
I had to be late 40s, but luckily
so
I have a
it's
computer
probably
not,
but you're right. That's what I wondered. Where did this come from? Where did this place? And also, what's interesting about that, your Wagner card, he's throwing a big old chaw in his mouth. They're chewing tobacco, and it's tobacco what got him pulled from the T206 set. I don't know if he didn't probably find a difference between smoking tobacco and chewing tobacco, but I presume that is actually what that is a picture of him, is him stuffing some chewing tobacco in.
Yeah. Ruth died August 16th, 1948. So, and Wagner was still alive.
So there you go again. This card was not printed in 1948. The card was printed in 1949.
So what I find interesting about this set, there's a lot of things I find interesting about the set. One of the biggest ones is the myriad of conditions you find these cards. I mean, there is no set that I've ever seen that has so many variables in condition and cards that I see, graded or raw, doesn't matter. You'll see them, everything under the sun, and not just the corners and the centering and all that, but the registration, like you said, the color differences. I mean, there's every combination under the sun of condition that you can find 49 Leafs in.
That's all true. And I tell you what, they feel really good in the hand. They feel like a baseball card in the hand. But yeah, and I think that's fun. That's fun thing about vintage is with modern cards, and I'm going to talk about modern cards, the fact is you pull them out and they are what they are. But finding vintage cards, you could search, you could want a Feller, a 49 Leaf Feller, and you can spend 2 years and see 100 of them, but you haven't quite found that right one yet. And they're all different. They're all different in their centering, in their registration, in their bright color, in their print defect, in their shades of color. It's just fantastic. I mean, do I have a 1949 Leaf Usual? I do not. And the reason is I'm waiting for the one. They just don't come up. If it does come up, I probably will get priced out of it, but I get what you're saying.
Well, let me ask you this question. If we're confident that 49 is the year these cards were issued, and you have players like, I'm just thinking, guys that were in the 48 Bowman set, Musial, let's just take Musial. Is his true rookie card then 48 Bowman? Because people consider the 49 Leaf as a 48 card, and therefore his another rookie. But the reality is only the 48 Bowman is his rookie. Spawn is the same way, right? He has a 48 Bowman and a 49 Leaf.
Well, Jackie does. Jackie has a 49 Bowman.
Right. But those are both 49 cards. I'm saying the guys that they consider their rookie card.
It comes down to a timeline. And the fact of the matter is, the Leafs were released in early spring of 49, they think March, and the Bowmans a couple months later. So Leafs get
I'm
the
talking
ring.
about I'm talking about 48 Bowman, not 49 Bowman. Like Musial
So you're
has a
talking about
48.
like Spawn. You want to talk about
Yeah,
Spawn?
Spawn and Musial are two guys I'm thinking about that have
Well, yeah,
48 Bowman cards.
I don't consider those Leaf cards their rookie cards.
Okay, a lot of the hobby does, you know. What
A lot of
what
the hobby's
is
wrong. I mean, it's
I know.
weird. I
I'm
mean,
agreeing
maybe
with
they
you.
don't like
I'm just
black and white cards, but we can argue, Jackie's rookie card, we could say it's Bond Bread or Sports Thrills, which came out in 48. But, the fact of the matter is Leaf came out a couple months before Bowman in 49. And whoever's in the 48 Bowman, whether it's Rizzuto or Berra or whatever, that's the rookie card. You don't have to like it. I don't, but it is.
right. Anything else about the history or anything you want to share with me? With us, I should say.
I do find it fascinating that all these legalities and these rights to players that I'm not quite sure when all that began, but certainly Bowman was not happy that Leaf was releasing cards that they had, quote unquote, under contract. And I don't think any of the players got in trouble for double signing contracts, but Bowman was not happy. And it's thought that is why that second series was only released in a couple states, and why it was not released heavily is because Bowman came down on Leaf, and we didn't hear again from Leaf till 1960 or so. But I don't know how these contracts work. I mean, how did Swell Gum and that Sports Thrills black and white? I mean, that came out in 48, and Jackie presumably was under contract with Bowman then. I mean, I don't know, but
well, here, I know
the contracts are interesting, but it really came down to Leaf got shut out by Bowman, and guess Topps came along and shut down Bowman.
Well, that story is told, the Bowman Topps story and player contracts and all that is discussed in the Great Bubblegum Card War book. It'd be cool to have somebody write a book about, if you could find the information on the Leaf Bowman War of 49,
That would be really fascinating. Things were probably done shoddily, I guess I would say, back then, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Jackie had contracts at Bond Bread, but I think that had expired, and all those contracts are, I think, I'm not even sure what the players were getting paid for this. I tell you what, not much. You hear the story of Ted Williams, where he was under contract with Topps, with Cy Berger, and what happened in 1959 is Flair came along and said, Ted, we'll do a whole series of cards with you, and we'll pay you $500. And Ted Williams said, that sounds good to me. And Sal Berger with Topps got all mad and said, I'll pay you $1,000. Next thing you know, there's this bidding war where finally Flair won out and paid Ted Williams $5,000 to do that set. And Topps was pissed off at him. So,
wow.
These guys had to make their money, but I don't think they made a lot of money,
Yeah, the normal contract back then in the early 50s was like $100 a year, and you could, if you signed exclusive, you got like $25 more. If you didn't sign with Bowman and or Topps, it wasn't huge money, but to them, that was a decent little bonus, I guess, right? Like, sure, you can use
every little
picture.
bit counts. Yeah, for sure.
Well, man, thanks for doing this. Thanks for going through this. So many people, I think, have grown in the vintage world to love this set, as it totally makes sense. I mean, do you know anything about the set selling well? I mean, I wonder why they didn't do a set the next year. Like, why was it one and done?
It's called the Bowman Gum Company in player contracts. They essentially got shut down as those contracts were exclusive.
Gotcha.
That is a shame. I assume, I don't know why I would assume this, but like we talked about at the beginning, it's first color set to come out. in almost 10 years. And it was nationally distributed, whatever that means, in 1949. So I would imagine it was a freaking big deal, and Leaf knew it, and then they pulled their skip numbering to draw even more people in. But as far as, hey, how many cards did they actually put out? Who knows? They're not common, right? And I hope after all of this that someone, next time they see a 49 Leaf, will give it a thought. Think about the history. Think back. Maybe go back to this archive podcast here and give that set another look. Because even for a common player, they're just they're beautiful. They really are beautiful cards.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those sets. Having one in your collection is awesome. And find a player you like. Find, I still want a DiMaggio. I need a Jackie. I need a Newhouser. Really, the Newhouser, forget about it.
It's one of the scarcer cards, and I can't remember why.
He was his second series, really hard to find and really expensive. So, well, Dave, thanks for doing this, and I appreciate dropping all your knowledge and sharing with all of us all of this information about 49 Leaf. And I will not call it 48 Leaf anymore, thanks to you.
Promise me the listening people. Just don't do it. You'll sound so much more sophisticated. Just call it 49 Leaf. Just call it.
Yeah, 49. And everybody else, it's 48. No. Yeah. Have you listened to my podcast?
Let PSA be wrong. Let SGC be wrong. Research it yourself. Listen to the big boys out there, the old guys that are the big boys, and they'll tell you it's a 49 Leaf.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching out there. Give this video a thumbs up. Write a review on your podcast network, whatever you're listening on, and go watch Dave over at Blue Jacket 66 on YouTube. He drops bombs all the time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week and keep collecting.